You ever get that feeling like you're drowning in information? Like you're trying to learn something new or really wrap your head around a topic, and suddenly you're just surrounded by a mountain of articles and research papers and your own messy notes, and it's just,
Totally get it.
yeah, it can be so overwhelming, right? So that's kind of what we do here on the deep dive,
Yeah.
cut through all that noise, get to the heart of the matter, and make it digestible for everyone.
Exactly.
So today we're diving into something that might seem pretty basic at first glance, but it can be incredibly powerful, especially for students out there who are juggling, all the demands of academic life. We're talking about journaling.
You got it. And we've been looking at some really interesting research and resources lately that emphasize, practical strategies for students who are looking to improve their academic performance. And one of the things that keeps popping up is this idea that journaling isn't just, some passive activity, but it can actually be a real driver of positive change when it's done with intention. And we've also been thinking about how certain design elements in a journal can actually enhance its usefulness for students.
Yeah, absolutely. It's way more than just, a blank notebook to scribble in.
Yeah.
I remember back when I was in university trying to balance all my classes and extracurriculars and even a part-time job sometimes. My backpack was like a black hole of papers, and digital reminders would just get lost in the shuffle constantly. And it wasn't until a friend of mine, Sarah, showed me how she used her journal to stay organized and on top of everything that I really started to see the potential. It became like her central hub for everything academic.
That's such a great point. And what's really interesting about Sarah's experience is that it highlights a really fundamental benefit of journaling for students, which is purposeful self-reflection. It's about creating a dedicated space where you can not only record tasks, but also actively engage with your learning, with your goals, and with your overall progress. When you take the time to actually write down your aspirations and the challenges you're facing, it can bring a level of clarity that's often missing in that kind of day-to-day rush of student life.
Okay, so let's dig into that a bit more. Why is this kind of intentional journaling so essential for students who are really striving for success? I mean, we all know that we should take time to reflect on things, but how does actually putting pen to paper translate into tangible improvements in our academic lives?
Well, think about the sheer volume of information that students are constantly processing these days. It's overwhelming, right? One key aspect is effective time management. When you consistently use a journal to map out your assignments and deadlines, and even your study schedules, you're creating a tangible overview of your commitments. This allows you to plan proactively, prioritize tasks, and significantly reduce the likelihood of, missing those crucial deadlines. It moves your schedule from just an abstract mental concept into a concrete visual representation that you can actually interact with.
That makes a ton of sense. It's about making the invisible visible.
Right. And it's not just about deadlines either, is it? A journal can also become this safe space to really process your entire academic journey, the victories and the setbacks, but also your personal development alongside your studies. Exactly. It's holistic. Think about those moments after a really challenging lecture or maybe, a tough exam. A journal can be that confidential space where you can unpack all those thoughts and feelings, and this act of self-reflection can often lead to really valuable insights about your learning style, about your areas of strength, and even highlight where you might need to, focus more effort. It's about fostering a deeper understanding of yourself as a learner. And it's worth noting that some journals, like those designed by Stallion, even incorporate features like really smooth, high-quality paper, which just makes the writing experience more enjoyable, and organized page formats that can kind of subtly encourage that structured reflection we're talking about.
So it's almost like the physical act of writing in a well-designed journal can actually support this process of self-awareness, which is pretty cool.
Yeah.
Now, let's face it, students face a ton of challenges these days, trying to balance their academic life with their personal life, dealing with stress and anxiety, and often taking multiple demanding courses at the same time. So how can a journal become a tool to navigate all these hurdles?
What's really fascinating is that a journal can actually act as a cognitive offloading tool. Like when you're feeling completely overwhelmed by a million tasks and anxieties, just the act of writing them down can bring a sense of order and control. By breaking down large assignments into smaller, more manageable steps in your journal, you're making them feel less daunting. And your journal also becomes a dedicated space for brainstorming solutions to problems, or even just venting frustrations in a way that's actually constructive. It's like having a pressure release valve for all those thoughts swirling around in your head.
That idea of getting things out of your head and onto paper sounds incredibly beneficial, especially for managing stress. And some journals even incorporate features that can support this organizational aspect even further, don't they?
Oh, absolutely. Think about how useful a built-in table of contents can be for a student. When you're trying to locate notes or reflections from a specific project or lecture, weeks later. Being able to quickly reference past entries saves so much time and reduces a lot of frustration. And then something as simple as a back pocket in a journal can be a game changer. It's a convenient place to keep all those important supplementary materials organized, like handouts or assignment guidelines, making sure everything related to a particular topic stays together. These features all contribute to a more streamlined and less chaotic academic experience.
It sounds like it's not just about the act of writing itself, but the design of the journal can play a really significant role in its effectiveness as a tool for academic success. It's about creating this kind of supportive ecosystem for your thoughts and plans.
Absolutely. And when you have a dedicated space in a well-structured journal, it becomes so much easier to track homework deadlines and personal reflections all in one cohesive place. This sense of clarity can be instrumental in preventing that feeling of being constantly behind or overwhelmed that so many students struggle with. And, features like a generous page count with high quality paper encourage consistent use, which helps to foster those crucial journaling habits that ultimately lead to sustained academic achievement.
And even those seemingly small details like numbered pages and consistent line spacing can contribute to a greater sense of order and control. It's about providing a framework that supports organization without being overly restrictive.
Exactly. Numbered pages make it incredibly easy to reference specific information, especially when you're reviewing notes or trying to connect ideas across different entries. And consistent line spacing, which you'll often see in journals specifically designed for students, helps maintain neatness and readability, making it much easier to engage with your written thoughts when you go back to them later on. These seemingly small details can actually make a huge difference in the overall user experience.
Let's talk about some of those specific features we mentioned, like premium paper. It seems almost like a luxury, but how did that actually contribute to a student's success with journaling?
Well, there's definitely a psychological aspect to it. When you're writing on high quality paper that feels good to the touch and doesn't bleed through the act of journaling becomes more enjoyable. It's a more tactile and satisfying experience, which makes you much more likely to engage with it consistently and transform it from a chore into something you actually look forward to doing.
Yeah, that makes sense. If it's a more pleasant experience, you're more likely to make it a habit.
Yeah.
What about the overall design of the journal? Does a sleek or thoughtful design contribute to anything more than just aesthetics for a student?
I think it definitely can. A well-considered design can actually contribute to a student's motivation. When you have a journal that looks and feels substantial, it can instill a sense of value and importance in the practice of journaling itself. It's a subtle but powerful way of signaling to yourself that your thoughts and plans deserve a dedicated and high-quality space.
And the idea of having a dedicated space within the journal, like keeping all of your academic notes and tasks and reflections all together in one place, why is that so important in the often fragmented world of student life?
It really comes down to mental energy. When you don't have to search through multiple notebooks and digital files and random scraps of paper to find what you need, it frees up so much mental space. A dedicated journal acts as a centralized hub for all your academic endeavors, which reduces mental clutter, improves focus, and makes it easier to see the connections between different aspects of your studies.
And we talked about that built-in table of contents and the handy back pocket. What's the real value proposition there for a student who's using those features regularly?
The table of contents essentially transforms your journal from a linear sequence of entries into a fully navigable resource. Imagine being able to quickly locate key insights from a specific lecture weeks after it happened simply by referencing your own personalized index. And the back pocket, as simple as it is incredibly practical for keeping all those essential loose papers together, things like syllabi and assignment sheets, preventing them from getting lost or crumpled at the bottom of your bag. It just streamlines the entire process of managing information.
It makes me think of a conversation I had with my neighbor's son, Mark, a while back. He was really struggling with the transition to university. He just felt so overwhelmed by the sheer amount of paperwork and digital files he had to keep track of. He eventually started using a journal with a table of contents and told me it was a complete game changer. He could suddenly find his notes so easily, and it made him feel much more in control of his workload.
It's a classic example of how those seemingly small features can actually have a huge impact on a student's ability to manage their workload effectively and reduce that feeling of being overwhelmed. It's about creating a system that truly supports their learning process.
And it's not just about organization either, right?
Yeah.
Consistent journaling can actually foster deeper learning and help students retain information better.
Exactly. The act of summarizing lecture notes or key concepts in your own words in a journal reinforces your understanding of the material. It goes beyond passive listening or reading. It's about active processing and engagement with the information. And that deeper level of processing can significantly improve your memory and recall when it comes time for exams or assignments.
So by actively engaging with the material through journaling, students aren't just keeping track of things, they're actually solidifying their learning.
Right.
Now, what are some effective ways for students to use a journal to really maximize these benefits?
Well, there are a few key strategies that come to mind. The first is to set specific intentions for your journaling. Are you primarily using it for task management, note-taking, personal reflection, or a combination of all three? Having a clear purpose will help guide your entries. The second is consistency. Even short, regular entries can be more beneficial than infrequent, lengthy ones. So try to establish a journaling routine that fits into your schedule. The third is to be honest and open in your reflections. Your journal is a safe space for you to explore your thoughts and feelings without judgment. And lastly, don't be afraid to experiment with different formats and approaches to find out what works best for you. Some students find mind mapping really helpful, while others prefer more traditional linear writing. It's about finding what resonates with you.
I love that emphasis on consistency and making it personal. It's about finding a journaling style that you enjoy and that you can realistically integrate into your daily or weekly routine. Now, looking beyond the immediate academic benefits, what are some of the longer-term advantages that students might experience from maintaining a consistent journaling practice?
Well, the benefits extend far beyond just improving your grades. Consistent journaling helps you develop crucial life skills like self-awareness, critical thinking, and problem solving. By regularly reflecting on your experiences and the challenges you face, you develop a much deeper understanding of your own strengths, weaknesses, and patterns of behavior. And this self-knowledge is incredibly valuable not just in academics, but in every aspect of life. On top of that, journaling can be a powerful tool for managing stress, improving your overall mental well-being, and building resilience. It provides a healthy outlet for processing emotions and working through difficult experiences.
It really sounds like an investment in your overall well-being and personal growth, with academic success being, a fantastic side effect. I can also see how having a record of your journey, like a tangible reminder of the challenges you've overcome and the goals you've achieved, could be incredibly empowering down the line.
Absolutely. Think of your journal as a physical record of your evolution as a student and as a person. It can offer valuable insights and perspectives as you navigate future challenges and make important decisions in your life. And the act of looking back at your past entries can give you a sense of perspective and remind you of how far you've come.
So to wrap things up, it seems like a dedicated journal, used intentionally and consistently, can be a truly valuable tool for students. It's not just about taking notes. It's about creating a space for organization, reflection, and personal growth that can significantly contribute to academic success and overall well-being.
I couldn't agree more. By providing that structured outlet for thoughts, plans, and reflections, journaling really empowers students to take a more active and engaged role in their academic journey. And the long-term benefits for self-awareness and mental resilience are truly significant.
It makes you wonder, in a world that's constantly vying for our attention, with digital notifications and endless distractions, could the simple act of dedicating a few moments each day to quiet reflection in a physical journal be the key to unlocking a deeper sense of focus, clarity, and self-understanding that not only helps us through our studies, but shapes the people we become? It's definitely something to think about. Thanks for joining us today.
It was my pleasure.
And until next time, keep diving.